All That Breeze, one of the rare films, I've been here many, many years, one of the rare films to premiere at Sundance and at Cannes. Tell me about, not the submission process for Sundance, where you won a major award there, but the submission process with Cannes, getting the announcement. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for the film?
I'm going to have to work hard to not traffic in cliches here, because, you know, it's like, it's literally Cannes, and it's obviously everybody's dream to have a film here, especially for younger filmmakers. How it worked out was that the Sundance screening happened and then the award happened, and then there was deliciously mysterious communication from people at Cannes. And you know, there was one of my producers, the producer Teddy, said that I think we might have to go dark before June, and which is it's like you've been through 2 years of the pandemic and you want to be out and about showing the film in festivals, and we had a really good lineup immediately after. But I mean, that kind of a half-spoken thing is not ominous, but like has great, like, we're excited. And then over time, and I didn't have my hopes high about Cannes because, you know, we've premiered elsewhere, and it's very, very uncommon for
world premieres, docs to actually appear in Cannes. They want premiere status. And so, yeah, I was shocked when I didn't see this title at Hot Docs, or some of the smaller docs like True False. When I saw it out of that lineup, and then IndieWire sort of like put out a list, I was like, oh, I think I know where this is going next.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, everywhere that you mentioned, I was eager and keen to go to. But then, of course, once these guys said that just hold back, you'll hold back. So, especially for, you know, it's like, I'm not a observational verite documentary filmmaker in the usual conventional sense, right? I'm very interested in making things that are cinematic and, you know, that have some art, or at least have
facet.
Aspirations for being that, or to be more specific, deploy tools of fiction for non-fiction storytelling. So, you know, like in the film we've used very slow languorous spans and tilt downs and all of that, but to use a kind of grammar or a vocabulary where it shouldn't really matter whether it's non-fiction. What matters is whether you're able to enchant the skies and render the birds magical and emotionally feel broken for the brothers and experience this kind of a simultaneity of beauty and brutality, which is a contradiction inherent to most places, especially in the global south. So to capture that kind of a thing, you know, it's silly to just like say, oh, but it's a documentary, it's like ideas and affects are things that like are difficult to get slotted in it. So especially for that, the cinephile in me wanted to be in Cannes. So it was of course tough to pull out of a ton of festivals prior, but being at Cannes is special for a multiplicity of reasons. It's a different planet.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking of Jacques Tati's Mon Oncle, and more recently I was thinking of Parasite as your world is presented in levels. It's almost as if we're looking at a high-rise and we're looking at different compartments in that high-rise. I was wondering, in your formal, strategic, architectural strategy, if that was an idea that sort of like traversed your mind, because there is a mixture of all these shots. We're looking up at the sky, we're looking down at our feet, we're on eye level,
it became a formal strategy as it matured or evolved into this. I spent 3 years shooting, that's a long time. So, and it's impossible to premeditate most of this. I think what happened is that we were always sure of what this film is not. I was sure that this is not a regular environmental doc. I have no experiences in, you know, nature docs or environmental docs. Nobody in the team has any experience with it. I knew this was not a kind of frontal snapshot of the political situation in India. It's not that kind of film. Nor is it a kind of, it's not an NGO-ish film about nice people doing sweet things to animals, right? And I was very sure about not wanting to make a sweet film about a bird hospital, and especially not make something that was maudlin or sentimental, because the most interesting thing is the philosophical disposition of the brothers, which is actually a kind of, which is marked by a kind of wry resilience about unsentimentally putting their heads down and soldiering on.
Yeah.
Because the work has to be done. The birds are falling off the sky, so somebody's to do it. Even if it's in a dingy basement. And that's the kind of perspective that I found really hypnotic, you know. And that's actually how it began. So it started with a position of it not being things, and then it becomes a plurality of things.
Of course. Directly after watching this film, I said, who is this guy? What has he made before that? I read the log line for your feature. I'm going to get it right. Cities Asleep. I want to see it badly. How did that inform you? How did that experience inform you about personal creative choices that you wanted to make in this film? Would I see the same filmmaker if I were to watch this film next?
I think Cities Asleep was about looking at Delhi through the lens of sleep, or the horizontal axis. This film is about looking at Delhi through the lens of the skies or the birds, or the vertical axis. And this city kind of illuminates itself differently when you look at it through different kinds of prisms. You know, if you knew anything that if you look at it from a different angle, you know, looking at the world through this glass, it means that you're illuminating the world through a different kind of opacity, thickness, and so on. But more importantly, you also start thinking of the glass itself differently, right? So it's both the world and it's the object through which you're looking at it, which start changing. And you become the filmmaker who can make the film through the film. You know, it's not the other way around.
I hear you.
So it began with thinking about sleep. It went on to thinking about the city of Delhi through birds. I know the vernacular or the colloquial context of that city well, and I'm embedded in it. I don't know what's coming next. I'm vaguely interested in the ecological sublime, or I'm interested in a form that is cinematic, and that non-fiction creative documentary form that is cinematic, that is visually expansive, and a kind of register of poetry. That's, I mean, I'm sorry it's vague, but that's literally the only thing that I have.
I want to discuss the perimeters, setting up perimeters with your subjects. I'm going to read them off. Nadim, Saud, and also Salik. What kind of conversations are you having with them prior to even developing the project, or you have a kernel of an idea and you're presenting this to them? What does those conversations look like? Because it's unfiltered, and you're going to be selective, and you're going to create stories, and you're going to exclude some items from their lives. And so, how does that discussion look like?
For me, this thing that you meant, the relationship with characters and the stuff of human life, when you shot somebody for 3 years and you're, you know, taking from their life.
You're taking from them.
So there is an extractive element to it also, but there's also the element of friendship and grace and love and dignity, like all human friendships. But this particular aspect of the film, to me, is the toughest thing in the world. There's nothing that I find tougher, personally speaking. There's nothing that I find more difficult. I mean this in the most existential, ontological register. And it has to begin with its constant conversation about consent, about speaking about the vocabulary of that you're deploying to shoot their lives, what they want to present, understanding that will change over time. But also it's an expanded field, right? It's a waxing and waning horizon, where at first they'd not be comfortable with things. Over time, you sort of recede into becoming the wallpaper of their lives, and you know, things develop, things happen in your life, which your own life becomes raw material for the film. I had a very big personal loss through the film. My dad suddenly passed away in the middle of the film, and I was exceedingly close to him. And the reason I'm saying this is that this also informed the film, because I think the film took on a more somber turn, and the conversations between the brothers and me took on a different, and they lost their mother a few years back. Why I'm saying this is that, you know, it's an ongoing conversation that's impossibly dense and has ups and downs, and there are points where they get annoyed with me, I get annoyed with them, and there's, you know, moments of happiness, and it comes to a point like yesterday when there's a standing ovation and we're all glowing, and through the films we were holding our hands to, like me holding the brother's hand. And so it's a lot of things. It's family, it's a kind of friendship, and the milk of human friendship and love and all of that, and it's annoyance, and it's being sick of the other person and not wanting to see the other person's face for a few days.
So maybe like being in a bunk bed situation with a sibling that's only a couple of years off or something.
And the sibling is your closest work colleague, and the sibling and you are on various levels of contracts, emotional, legal, social, and the sibling expects over time that their lives will change because of what you're doing with them, and you're trying to explain to them that I want to give you, the sibling, a platform, but that's about all one can do. But also to try and do things to help make their lives better, and to not make it a mercenary, extractive kind of a thing.
You employ the services of an editor who's worked on The Act of Killing, The Truffle Hunters. Again, you know, I don't use the word masterwork lightly. Those are masterworks. Those are in a different sphere on their own. Again, the creative process. Do you just film material and then you drop it in the basket and you say you create another strong bond? How did that creative relationship work? How does amassing all that footage, or was it during different portions of you filming that you would work on the editing?
We had a simultaneous edit in Delhi with this young editor called Vedant Joshi while we were shooting. You need some kind of making sense of the mountain of footage. Otherwise, 200 hours of footage is impossible. You'll take 6 months to watch the footage. So you need somebody to work on it simultaneously. And then I had the great honor and fortune actually of working with Charlotte, who is a master. The structure of Truffle Hunters was, like, I think it's better edited than it's directed. Like, I'm that much of a fan of the edit. So I reached out to her and said that I'd love to work with you. And it was really like, I've never had that kind of an experience. You know, it's like, I'm a cerebrally driven person, and that works, I think, not always to my advantage on the edit. Whereas Charlotte has a kind of playful dance on the edit. She used to be a dancer before this, and has the same kind of like a playfulness on the edit. And to have somebody who'd keep asking me, no, but what does the stomach say at this cut? You know, and because I'm too much of a front brain person when it comes to a cut, and she's very, what's the emotional
amazing
movement? So that's something that I learnt and I had no access to before this. And she's an absolute master, and she held on to the kind of creative sanctity at the heart of the project, which I would sometimes get blinkered to. So you need people who actually tell you, no, this is your film, remember, this is your film, not what you're saying now. And somebody to protect you from the poorer angels of your nature, you know.
She'll include beats. She gives characters space for sequences that normally you wouldn't consider rich. And I'm sort of like conjoining those to what I saw and experienced with your film. There's a lot of those moments.
Yeah, I think she's brought to bear her style, which is an open-ended. Her edits are open-ended structures. She doesn't close scenes; she opens them. The trite cliche of entering late, leaving early in fiction films. She doesn't do that. She enters early and leaves even earlier. And there's a kind of open-endedness to the ending of scenes, especially in Truffle Hunters. Where have we seen that kind of edit, man? It's like it's so open. It's like and even with this film, she deployed the style of. She said that we have to move between extreme compression and decompression. So the claustrophobic space of the brothers' basement and the vista of the city at large. And I think that's a brilliant way to start editorializing a strategy. So, and this was all her mainly.
It ties up to one specific word in your title. It's the word breathe. It allows the film to take in the oxygen. To breathe. The lighting of the animals, there's a couple of beautiful sequences where the camera just like acknowledges the beauty of this specific species of bird. How much fun was it to light and make them into cinematic creatures, not just birds in a cage?
Spectacularly fun. I mean, if you like me also derive great joy from just like cinematically translating things. It's the quality of light and texture and dimensionality. And these birds, the black kites, are magisterial looking raptors, right? And it's like looking into the eye of a tiger.
It's like looking into the eye
of a tiger,
okay.
Right? So there's something truly, it's like a alien snake, like from another planet. And there's a metallic glass aspect to the eyes. So to light it and to bring different aspects, and it's the film school exercise where you take a bulb and you do this around your face, right? And your face just changes aspects completely. So doing that to a bird is, like I can't think of coming across something like this.
Physically, to capture a scene like that, I imagine you're in their space, so you had to find like a little dark room in a way.
The brothers really helped because their understanding of the bird's body language is unbelievable, and the bird trusts them. So we had the best possible guides to understanding what to do, what not to do, what not to do to bother the birds, and what to do for the birds to become more comfortable with you. So for the most part, we had to use a crane because the birds would treat it as a branch. So they were more comfortable. So we had to be farther away and use objects that were protruding towards them. So that's the sort of thing
that's the trick. If I ask the question to a lot of filmmakers, how do they know when to end? Is usually because they ran out of funds. I don't get a sense that this is the case here. So you sort of like the brothers are parting ways momentarily. That could have been an add-on, but like for you, when did you feel as if, okay, our journey together is complete? What was the key day or shot or element that
for me, the end is never the issue. It's the second act that's always the problem. The middle of the film that I always struggle with on the edit. So actually the last thing that I always have to work out is what happens in the middle. So there was a kind of capping off point with the brothers' conflict reaching where it was. And there was a natural sort of a tapering with Nadeem leaving for his training. So that was what it was. And look, we were editing through the 3 years, like for a good 6 months before Charlotte came on board, we were editing still. So I had this vague sense of how it was going. I always just struggle with the middle of things. I like beginnings and I like endings. And with everything in life, I really struggle with the middle of it. So what Charlotte worked on was really the substance in the middle. Of course, on everything, but with her, I was leaning especially to get a sense of that.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this film. I'm going to champion this until mid-March.
Thank you.
Whatever those dates are. But yeah, I'm happy to say that now that you got the Cannes experience in the bag, that a lot more audiences will get to see this film. So once again, congratulations on the film, and I wish you the best of luck. Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.